Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about the Java class library and how it's organized. We're not going to go into great detail. Really, all you need to know right now is the huge, vast library of classes that come with the Java development kit are all organized in a very specific way, almost like a family tree, if you can imagine that. And at the very, very top of the hierarchy is object. Your book calls this the cosmic superclass, okay? It is the class from which all other classes inherit. Now, this is just a tiny piece of this huge library with many, 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 many files. And then when you create your own classes, like I've done in this project, the item and the perishable item class, they too are added to this family tree, way, way at the bottom where you can't even see it in this view. And they too inherit from object. Okay, so I like to call object the godfather. I mean, that's just a me term. It's just kind of like that head honcho up at the top from which all other objects will inherit. So, so with that in mind, now every object, and they don't inherit that much. They inherit like a set of methods. The most important by far, I would say, is toString that we've already looked at. That's definitely one that you want to override in your classes. But there are a couple of other ones that are worth noting at this point in time for us. So let me go into the item class here. So we already talked about overriding toString. And again, every object should be able to represent itself in a string format or text format. I shouldn't say every object, but most objects, certainly the ones that we do in our class. And so that's why it makes sense to override toString, because if you don't override toString, the version that you get from object is not going to print anything meaningful. Okay, and we'll talk about what exactly it prints maybe in the next video. But anyway, so that's why we've been overriding toString already, and we're going to continue to override toString. Now, another useful method that we have not talked about is equals. Let's think about this. Okay, let me go back to the main method here. I changed this data a little bit. So I've got a couple of items in my store. This is my gift shop. And I've got a Hello Kitty doll with an inventory code of 1111. It's $12.95. This doll almost has like a rubber ducky material. Okay, so imagine like like kind of a little rubber doll. Okay, that's a Hello Kitty doll. And then I've got another Hello Kitty doll with a different inventory code and a different price. And this is like a stuffed animal type of doll, plush doll. Okay, so I've got two Hello Kitty dolls. So my point is, like, we as the programmer, if I were to compare these two dolls in my program, how do I know if I'm looking at the same item? Okay, if I say, if I just compare their names, well, they're both called Hello Kitty doll, and they're both different items. So I can't just compare their names and, go by that. If I compare their inventory codes, assuming that these are unique, then that would be a good way to compare and determine if this object is equal to this other object. The point is, you have to lay down the law. Okay, Java doesn't know, the computer doesn't know about inventory codes and even, Hello Kitty or whatever. You have to decide, how does one object equate to another or equal another? And that's how you, and you have to code the equals method. You have to override it and lay down that law, that comparison law in your code. So let's see what I've done here. And this is I actually had my AI plugin do this for me, and it actually went by the book recommendations. So I was happy to see that. But okay, what we would do is, notice how this returns a Boolean, a true or a false. Okay, so if the objects end up being equal, then we'll return true, or else, if they're not equal, we'll return false. So I'm going to call this equals in the name of an object, right? So here, let me get into my main method here. Okay, so here, what I'm going to do, I've got the two Hello Kitty dolls. And I'm going to call the equals method in the name of inventory 1, the first Hello Kitty doll. Okay. And inventory 0 rather, the first Hello Kitty doll. And then I am passing as an argument to that parameter the second Hello Kitty version. Okay. Inventory 1. So I'm calling in the name of inventory 0, the first doll. And I'm passing, for the comparison, inventory 1, the second doll. So let's get back here. So the second doll is coming through the door, and we're calling that other object. Okay? So if the other object, that second doll, is nothing, it's like some empty reference, right off the bat, it's a no-go. I'm returning false. Okay? Or else if we compare their classes, we haven't looked at this get class method in this particular class so far, but this will just check and see what kind of object it is. In this case, they're both item objects, so that's not going to end up being false, but it's possible that I would be comparing an item to, say, a perishable item in this program, and then it's a no-go. They're not the same. Okay? They're not equal, I should say. So, so we have that. And then finally, if I've cleared those two hurdles, I'm going to, let's see, what am I doing here? Okay, so I have to create, this is interesting. I do need to cast this. Okay, look at how that comparison item is coming through the door as a generic object. The way it is, it's almost like it's imagine my doll in a cardboard box. Okay, it's boxed up, and I can't look at the tag with the inventory code. I don't even know what's in it, honestly. I don't even know that it's Hello Kitty or how much, or the price tag. I can't see anything. It's boxed up, like as a generic object. If a package comes to your door and it's a box, you don't remember what you ordered, you're like, what's this object? I know there's something in here, but I don't know what it is. So what we have to do is kind of, like, I would say, unbox that. And we do that just by throwing a cast on it. So whatever's in that box, I'm going to wave my magic wand at it and cast it to an item, a proper item, which I know it's in there. Okay, we're going to call that other item, and then I can dig into the inventory code. Then I have access to the inventory code. So if the inventory code of the current one that I'm looking at is equal to the inventory code of the one I just took out of the box, I am returning true. This will evaluate to a true or a false. Okay, if the inventory codes are equal, a true is being returned back to the main method, or else a false is being returned. So that's what's going to happen here. So what I did, I just threw that into a conditional operator, conditional statement. And so let me run this. It should say, yeah, these items are not equal. Okay, because we said, I laid down the law with their inventory codes. Well, just to prove a point, I'm going to change the inventory code on that second one. Now they are equal, because that's the way I determined two items would be equal in my program. Okay, so I'm going to end this video, and then we have one more quick little loose end along these same lines.